Welcome to Buckle Up Podcast Universe with Brandon Rush.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Buckle Up Podcast Universe with Brandon Rush and
Mama Rush.
And we are returning after being in London, which I will get back to. We'll talk about that next. But I just want to say that currently we are in 73 countries and 722 cities around the world. And we're very excited about that, and on 6 continents. So we're excited today to have Judge Abby on here today, and we'll be speaking with her momentarily. And we'll be right back.
Hey, can y'all see me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we can.
Yes, we can, Miss Abby. What you might want to do, though, you don't have to, but what you might want to do, are your blinds closed or are they open?
Yeah, open. I forgot to close them.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's the one thing I want to do. That way you won't be so backlit. That's perfect.
Okay, I'm going to close the other one. Carolyn, I like your hair.
Oh, yours too. We going to comment once we get on, girl.
Blondes have more fun. I know I do.
Yeah, black.
Are you there? Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am. We're coming back. Yes, ma'am. We're here.
Yeah, black blondes have a lot of fun.
Oh, we have more fun than the darker hair girls.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Miss Abby, thank you so much for coming on here today. It's actually Judge Abby. Is that correct? Or Judge Abigail Rogers?
Yes,
is that?
My professional name is either Judge Abigail Rogers, or you can call me Miss Abigail. But they'll call me Attorney Rogers since I'm retired from the judiciary. So, but because of you, I will respond to Miss Abby. But they call me Judge Rogers,
you so much,
Judge Abigail.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Miss Abby. I appreciate you.
Start now?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
And you think she needs Abby put a little bit because it's floating up?
Yes, Miss Abby, you might want to move your camera down.
Just a little, Abby.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Oh,
yes, ma'am.
Looks
Is that
great.
Because I'm sorry, this is new for me on my little phone, but Carolyn said it's good on the phone. So
yes, ma'am, it is. Usually the quality is a lot better, and then also that way you'll probably be doing a lot of these, I would assume. So it's good to get used to it, probably.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, anyway, I'm going to tell you this, Abby.
Okay.
Welcome to the Buckle Up Podcast Universe, girl.
My very first podcast. I've never done a
podcast universe. And Brandon, tell Miss Abby how many viewers we have and where we are in cities and all before we get started.
Yes, ma'am. So, Miss Abby, last time I checked, we were at 13.6 million viewers and listeners.
Wow.
And that was before I left London. So it's just gained since then. And we're in 73 countries and 722 cities around the world. So we are a global show, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's all because of Mom's personality and then us working as a great team together. So we absolutely love it. And then we're so glad that you could come on here with us today. And we're happy to have you today. It's all about you and us. Letting hearing about your story and our audience as well, and you get an opportunity for people to know about you, a lot of things they might not know, or even your journey, because I feel that with this show and with people I've met, a lot of people don't get a chance to tell about their life.
You can't
hear me?
Wait, Abby.
Let's see here. I think my sound isn't on mute.
Is your sound on mute? Did yours go on mute, Abby?
Okay, let me pause it real quick and then
we'll get fixed.
Let's see here. Are you still able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I don't know what was happening with that. Okay, but let's see. I'm gonna redo that just in case.
Okay.
In case you didn't hear us, I was saying that we have 13.6 million viewers and listeners in 73 countries and 722 cities around the world. And we're happy to have you on the Buckle Up Podcast universe today. And it's all about you. One of the reasons we started this show was we always enjoy meeting people from different walks of life. And a lot of times people go through this whole entire lifetime without people knowing what their journey was or their story to get to where they are. And also for us, we'd like to give back. With that being said, like with kids, adults, trying to figure out what they want to do in life. Not everybody really knows their past sometimes, especially the younger generation, and having a person like you with so much wisdom and things you've seen. I feel that you could definitely be a person that could add so much knowledge of your own journey that could be helpful to those like myself and younger.
All right. So, Abby, go ahead and give us your spiel of growing up in South Carolina,
You know,
Southern girl, as I am.
yeah, Carolyn, you know, it feels funny telling you because I have known you all of my life.
That's
Yes,
right.
So you want me to tell you stuff you already know.
yes,
Well,
ma'am.
but 13.6 million.
Oh,
Well, let's
that's
say
right.
don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Okay.
my son Brandon,
I
does
don't know
not
personally. Yes, ma'am.
And so that journey that you're going to tell about everything we did is going to be so much fun. And to now know that we have made a difference in this world as we
Okay.
played in the South of Columbia, South Carolina. All right. So, Abby, it's up to you.
Oh,
Go
yes,
ahead.
ma'am.
Tell what you want to tell,
Okay.
girl.
Okay, I'm going to start, and then you kind of jump in when you have questions about anything. So
I
I'll tell
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
I will do that.
Okay, tell you about my life.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Carolyn, you feel free to tell me not that, Abby, and something else. Okay.
Well, you share whatever you want to share.
Okay, thanks. I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, and I grew up during the civil rights era. I had two school teacher parents, just like Carolyn, and they believed that my brother and me, I have one younger brother, needed to know about the history of African Americans. They believed it. We lived in a community, all African American community, all Black community. I went to all Black church, and I lived next to a teacher who lived next to a janitor who lived behind us, was the domestic, but we were all the community. So I wanted to be a lawyer ever since I was about 5, because in my parents' efforts to make sure I knew my history, I had to watch the TV in black and white with the little antenna with the tinfoil on it there. Carolyn, you know.
I know.
And,
we had 3 channels.
That's it. And so I was out sitting in front of the TV. I saw the dogs in my version eat up the Black people. I was horrified. So I was sitting on the floor and I yelled to my parents who were sitting behind me, somebody's got to help them. So they ignored me, but they said to each other, oh, those folks are going to jail and the lawyers are going to have to come and get them out. And that's where it stuck. The lawyers are going to help them and get it out. I knew then I was going to be an attorney. I had never seen a Black female attorney. I had never seen a male attorney. I had not seen attorneys ever. But in my spirit, I knew the Holy Spirit said, you're going to be a lawyer. And Carolyn would tell you, I grew up telling everybody, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. And that's where it began.
Oh, wow.
So I've always had the civil rights spirit in me of doing right and helping others.
Yes,
and that's where it started. I went to St. John Baptist Church, which was a mile away from my house. And we spent most of our time, as Carolyn knows, in church. We had Girl Scouts. We had a BTU, Bible Training Union. We had Sunday school. We had church. We had to go to choir practice. Then we had activities. So I spent most of my time in church or at home reading, writing, because when you, as Carolyn and you know, when you have school teacher parents, it's school even at home.
That is so true, Abby. So
it
true.
is school all the time. So then I decided it was time to go to school and I wanted to go to law school. And at that time, there was segregation. And I do remember the for white only signs downtown, but they'd gotten rid of that. But the University of South Carolina integrated when I was young. And Dr. Solomon was a member of my church because I didn't know growing up that we could go to integrated schools or PWI, predominantly white institutions. So he was my Sunday school teacher, the man that integrated the University of South Carolina, Dr. Solomon. So in Sunday school, he said, we were getting ready for college, and he said, you know, I know your parents went to an HBCU. I don't want to discourage you, but now you have options. And he says, so think about it. So I went home and they explained that he had opened up the doors at the University of South Carolina. So I went to the University of South Carolina and from there applied to the law school and went to the law school. Now, the law school was hard as all out because they hadn't used to Black folks being in law school. So I just wanted to tell you, they beat us down.
Oh, wow.
Down the University of South Carolina. They started with maybe 30 students and 30 Black students and 6 of us graduated.
Really?
There. Yes. And
Wow.
so from there, I went to I clerked for Jasper Curitan. Then I
Yes.
went to the public defender's office, and then I was recruited to the solicitor's office, prosecutor's office. And when I was there, the Holy Spirit said, you're going to be a judge. And then you have to know the Spirit of the Lord, because only the Lord could tell you you're going to be something that you don't see. And I'm like,
Yes,
oh man, I don't see, there are no African American female judges.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
the Lord was saying, you are going to be the first. And so I ran for judgeship, and the legislature elects judges here. There are only
Okay.
2 states, South Carolina and Virginia,
Okay.
and we're elected by legislature. And so my father was alive. And when you go and you try to convince legislators to vote for somebody they've never seen before, or ask them to do something they've never thought about, they hurt your feelings. Like
Yes.
from, oh, that's not going to happen, or you're female, or you don't look like a judge, or anything. And so I remember my mother and father sitting at the table, and I was just crying because my feelings were hurt. And my mother said, listen, if you're going to cry every time your feelings are hurt, you're not going to make it.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, strong Black mothers.
Yes, ma'am.
A strong Black mother.
Nothing like it. And my mother said, speaking of strong Black mothers, Carolyn, she said, now listen, when you are a trailblazer, you must understand that you are going to be hit because you're blazing the trail. Said, Abigail, you are not here to go and get a judgeship or get any job and close the door and say, I got it. No, no, no. You are to open up the path. And then when your job is done, move out of the
Yes,
way
ma'am.
and let others come.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's what they taught us. So when I was elected, that law school was hard. Getting elected was difficult. Then I got the bench, served on the bench, and that was hard.
Okay.
White women hated me because they were taking orders from Black female. Black women hated me because here I was, Black female, giving them orders. White men hated me because white men were thinking, now I got to take orders from her. You know, I've never done this before. Then
Yes,
Black men hated me because some of them thought, not all, some of them felt like, since you know me, then you should go ahead and not send my kid to prison, because just because he murdered somebody or sold drugs or beat somebody. But Abigail, now you know us, because being from the community,
Yes, ma'am.
would have its challenges,
Yes, ma'am.
because you knew and saw these kids, and they'd get in front of me and say, hey, Miss Abby, and then I go, you know, I'm gonna have to send them away.
Yeah.
So that was difficult. Then
Wow.
after about 5 years on the bench, the legislators and they did not want to reelect me. And the reason was that the legislators said to me, Black legislators said, it was too difficult to try to hold on to a Black female. So a white female was elected, and there was no more Black females in the judiciary for quite a while. Then from there, I had just had a baby, and Dr. Swinton at Benedict was watching. I was all on the news, all everywhere. Can you imagine just having a baby, trying to nurse the baby, and then TV cameras everywhere? And you
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
right after you have a baby, you feel like you ain't looking great anyway. That's how you feel. So Dr. Swinton, president of Benedict, called me and said, why don't you come here for 3 years, get some rest. The kids can be taught by a real judge.
Yes, ma'am.
So I went there, hid out for about 3 years, and had a ball, because I didn't have cameras. I had my kid's name is Garrett. I had her with me. And so I stayed there for a while. And then now I'm in private practice. I stayed there a long while Garrett grew up, got out. Now I'm in private practice.
Okay.
I specialize in death cases,
Really?
anything dealing with death. Wills, trust, probate.
Really?
And all that. And then on the side, I help those mainly minorities, not all, but mainly minorities who have trouble passing the South Carolina bar.
Yes, ma'am.
So I spend my outside time, and I don't have much outside time,
Yes, ma'am.
helping lawyers, young law graduates, pass the bar, because I believe if you've gone through school and you spent that much amount of money and you spent that much time, you need to be licensed. Now, there are those who say, I don't want to be licensed. But, you know, Carolyn, there's a deep hunger for me wanting others to be like us.
Yes,
yes,
I
that's so
want
true.
others to just fight for other people.
yes,
And
ma'am.
being a lawyer trains you and gives you the weapons to fight for others. So that's really why I do it. I go, you know, we're on the battlefield.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Absolutely.
Yes.
so I gave that's a little bit, and then I got married almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
Your cousin Sharon Dreer, Manyworth, introduced me to the man, and then made me marry him. He's a pastor at St. John.
Well, that's, you know, that's always a beautiful thing when you've been through so much, Abby, and we grew up together as Abby, and they refer to me as Mama Rush on the show.
Yes,
So
okay, Mama
all
Rush.
are following, I'm Mama
I
Rush
got
on
it.
the show.
Mama
But with
Rush.
that said, her mother was absolutely beautiful.
Oh.
And Abby, were you born in Columbia or did y'all move? Because I don't remember you being a baby at St. John.
Right. I was born in Greenville. My
Okay.
my mother is from Greenville, Lawrence. She's Garrett. And so I spent the first few years staying with my grandmother because my mother was a teacher. My
Okay.
dad he went to the Army first and then went to college. So I stayed in Greenville with my grandmother. And that's another reason because I love family so much,
Uh-huh.
I grew up around family. And then mom, when she got on her feet and dad graduated, then they went and got me and brought me back to Columbia.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to clarify because I remember you coming as about, you know, around our age. And I said, well, she's new. And her mother looked so much like my aunt. I almost thought they could have been sisters. But Lawrence, South Carolina, which is a town here in state of South Carolina,
Yes,
my parents taught in Lawrence, South Carolina. And my sisters lived there for a while. And so Daddy might have known and talked with your parents about Lawrence because Daddy knew almost everybody. My father did. But with that said, we got to be so close, like sisters running around. And like Abby said, we were in so many things at St. John. And St. John was where we planted our seeds were planted there. And we now have the harvest that's coming up through you, Brandon, and Garrett, who's a doctor now. And so all of that. But Abby, you went to high school where? Because
I went then. Thank you for reminding me. And your dad and my dad were close too, because I remember being with my dad when he talked to your dad. I went to the schools we were zoned for, or were desegregated for, and went to Alcon and got in a fight. Now, my dad was principal in District 2, and my parents were in District 2, got in a fight in District 1, where the principal of Alcorn called the principal of Dent Junior High and said, I think I got your daughter here from fighting. And my dad said he went over to Alcorn just so he could say, that's not my daughter. And there I was sitting in the office and my father packed me up and he said, you won't see her again. And I had to go to District 2. So I went to Dent and then went to Spring Valley.
Well, that means, Abby, back then you were standing up for your rights.
You know it. Hey, Carolyn.
You knew that law would definitely be your path of going through. And see, I went to, when they desegregated the schools, integrated the schools, I went to Columbia High School downtown.
Right.
So that's where I graduated from, the Columbia High School that used to be in the city of Columbia, South Carolina. And so we started to separate, but at church, I would see Abby. And then I went to historically Black university, and they call HBCU, College and Universities, historically Black. And Abby went to University of South Carolina. And my sister Benny went to the University of South Carolina. Rest of my family there. Naomi and I went to South Carolina State you know.
Oh,
Yeah. And so we kind of start to separate at a
right.
certain point, but we never lost. When we get
Oh,
together, Abby and I would fall out laughing like we
mhm.
never walked away from each
Yes,
other
Yes, ma'am.
and
yes,
all.
yes.
But Abby knew Ben.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Oh,
so bring up, and we're going to get
brother.
back to the law a little bit, and we're going to get back to some other things, but I have to just have some laugh about us coming through.
Okay, you're good.
And Brandon, I know you have
Yes,
questions
ma'am.
too,
No, you're fine.
but we
Right.
just have to laugh a little bit for the audience to see the flavor of us both.
Yes, ma'am.
Because yes, we have held some powerful positions in this life, but when they see this side of us, this is how we do.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Okay.
No
All
worries.
right. So y'all okay with
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Hey, everybody, y'all out there okay with us doing this? All right. So, Abby.
So Mama Rush, you're gonna have to talk about me when I was younger, and I will join in.
Abby was always so beautiful. I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
pretty girl,
Thank you.
beautiful little girl. And she and Sharon looked, they could have been real
Yeah, you do.
sisters too. And so I would see Abby, and they would always have, we were in the Girl Scouts. But my
Okay.
parents had 6 kids. Hey, I didn't have a uniform, a Girl Scout uniform, but Abby had hers and Sharon
Mhm.
had hers.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
But still, we knew that I had a uniform in my head,
Yes, ma'am.
on my body,
Yes, ma'am.
and they could see it. But it was just a
Mm.
beautiful thing. And we would have, did your mother sing on the choir?
Yes, she was. She sang on the choir, and she was an usher. Both.
Okay, and with that singing on the choir, they would have the picnics.
Yes,
We would
ma'am.
have the picnics,
Yes.
and that's where I almost drowned
Oh, wow.
out there.
That's true.
One of the picnics. Do you remember when I almost drowned, Abby? Were
What?
you there that day? At
No, I don't remember.
we were at the
What's
church
Sesame?
picnic.
Were we
Yeah,
at Sesame?
yes. And
Okay.
I don't. We did we do it at Sesqueak as well as
Oh,
Lake Murray, or did we just do it at Sesqueak
I
Park?
think it was Sesame. I didn't think
Yeah.
that we were comfortable at Lake Murray yet.
But one thing about her mother being on the choir
Mhm.
would have, you remember how they would have their not a luncheon, but it would be a party at the end of the
Yes.
season. And Mr. Russell used to
Yes.
be the caterer at the church. And so
Deacon
all
Russell.
of the children would go on, though our parents didn't sing on the choir, they invited us, they would invite the hall kids to come.
Right.
We would have
Right.
so much fun at the party.
Okay.
But I just
Right.
remember Abby never getting in trouble at church. I never remember you getting in trouble at church or anything.
No.
Abby. I always remember you just always just a kind kid and no
Well,
problems there.
I was scared to death to get in trouble at church.
Oh, yeah.
Mama Rush. You know,
Mhm.
I feared my parents. My parents didn't play.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I feared my parents. But remember, you had your parents in those days. Mama Rush's parents were my parents, and
Yes, ma'am.
Sharon's parents were my parents. So it didn't
Yeah.
matter if my parents were present or not. I had the fear of God in them that they would call my parents and say, Abby messed up. And so I just followed the rules.
And that's right. That's when is she frozen?
I'll be here.
Okay, hold on a minute, Abby.
I think you might have froze for a second, Miss Abby.
Hold on one moment.
Let's see here. I think it might be on.
Hold on, Abby.
I don't think. Oh, see here. Oh, on a pause it for a second.
Okay.
What
You put
happened?
us on pause.
So I have mine on Do Not Disturb. Someone might have called
Okay.
in, or sometimes there can be
Okay.
a connection thing.
One
Okay.
thing with that, you wanted me to talk about my remembering you growing up, or me remembering you. I always wanted to know, where did you get your energy from, your confident spirit, Abby? And do you think of that drive? And tell me what parent might have driven you in certain directions, because I've always remembered that about you.
With the and I got to get used to calling you Mama Rush. Now Mama
That's
Rush,
okay. You
you
can refer to me as Carolyn. That's
Yeah,
okay.
so
Okay,
you can say-
good. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, remember, Carolyn, I hung around y'all, and you all were brilliant people. You know, Brother and Hall are about a year apart. I think
Okay.
a year apart. Brilliant. And, you know,
Thank you.
Carolyn and Naomi and
Yeah.
were all my like sisters, because I didn't have any sisters.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you had a big family. I had a small family. So I hung around your Aunt Naomi's all the time. And you could go there and you could always get something to eat at all times. You could have cake, cookies, ice cream, all of that. So you say about my energy, it was never a dull moment. All of y'all were brilliant,
Oh, thank
brilliant. And so to try to keep up with y'all, because I talked, I just wanted to tell you, I talk a lot of stuff. I talk all the time, and then it's back and forth, and it's always a challenge. So to keep up with y'all and to talk back and forth to Ben, you had to be kind of quick, because Ben was quick, and then I had to be quick, and Ben was quick. So it was always back and forth with the two of us. And so you say my energy hanging around y'all.
Well, thank you. Well, what happens is, but you always have had a confidence that I've always admired. That confidence,
Right.
I don't care where we are. Sometimes I say, wait a minute, slow down, Abby.
Yeah, he's right.
Abby. But that confidence, where did you get that confidence? I know the Lord has given us so many different attributes and characteristics about us that give us our flavor. But that confidence that you have, I can see how that played well in everything you have done. So tell me whether you think that's come from.
And thank you, Carolyn, because I don't know of any other way, but I still have to say, being brought up and raised in the civil rights era, you remember we were treated so poorly. We had separate waiting rooms for the doctor's office. So you had a mother, and I had a mother and a father who had to convince me, although the waiting rooms in the doctor's office looked bright and sunshiny and perfect, and I was over here with the roaches and the water fountain, and it was bad, I was equal to those in the other room. And so we grew up, and my parents really worked at, you are equal. No one is better than you, but you are not any better than anyone else. I'm tall. I'm 5'9". When you put shoes on, I'm about 6 feet close. So there I was. She had to say, you have to walk with confidence, because if not, people will tear you down. So Carolyn, my parents developed it through the civil rights era. Because otherwise, if you remember, you'd be eaten alive. So they concentrated, just like your parents, on being as smart as you can be, learning. You had to be smart. You had to be learning. Look at all y'all. Then you had to be spiritually driven, because you know that God drives us. And then you were supposed to be, kind to everyone. Now, with me, I could be kind to a point. Then it's like, look, I'm tired of this now.
Well, that speaks volumes, because the one thing, my grandfather, I don't know if you knew this, but he never let us play outside the yard.
I heard that. I heard that.
So we were playing inside the yard, and we used to feel sorry to see people walking the streets, because we felt that they would get hurt. But my grandparents felt that they didn't want the community to influence the way they were raising us.
Okay.
And so for that to hit home, for you to understand a certain thing, is one time my sisters took colored clothes in a basket, and our washer machine had broken. Well, we had the line outside to hang clothes. The washing machine had broken. So my sisters took the clothes to a washer rack, and there was a sign in the that said no coloreds allowed.
That's right, Carolyn.
But my siblings thought.
Me too.
Thought they were talking about the clothes in the basket.
Me too. Me too.
Because this is how our parents want us to have an open mind.
Yes, ma'am.
And not to look at it. So my sisters brought the clothes back and said, "I'm going to wash clothes. We have colored clothes in the basket." And you said the same thing happened to you. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Because our parents wanted us to know the greatness that God had put in us and given us as children. And they wanted us to look at the world with these rose-colored glasses on, which we did. And it's hard when something happens and you have to realize, well, how can I change that way of thinking to bring them to a brighter spot that they not have experience like we did with educated parents.
Right.
And my grandfather being a preacher on top of that, and the word
That's
of God being instilled in us, to have that love, because we know we are driven by our spiritual side of us. And in everything we do, all the successes we've had in this life, it's been because God has been right there. Directing us to go into that field of work, or go into the field that you have had and continue to have. Now, Brandon, ask Abby a few questions about being a judge.
Actually, before I even get to that, Miss Abby, I have one. I will ask you the question about being a judge, but one thing I wanted to ask was, a big thing I find is I love people that are able to overcome adversity no matter what. Now, the thing you said was this, and this could be kind of a two-part question. I heard you say that whenever you started at University of South Carolina, so here, I think you said his name was Dr. Solomon, or
my Sunday school teacher, James Solomon.
You said Dr. Jim Solomon?
Yes.
So thank you so much. Sorry about that. I couldn't remember. I'll make sure I had his name right. He fought to make sure that people could be integrated into University of South Carolina, like myself, who was an alumni of University of South Carolina. You said that when you started, and we already know that they threw the book at you all because you see it all. They just didn't want a lot of you all to be successful. Not every teacher probably, but sometimes it happens because of people stuck in their old ways. I've heard this countless times, even in my life. You said you all started with 30 of you all started in the class, and only 6 of you all graduated. What was it for you? And this is I wanted to look at the name of the show, but I'm forgetting it right now, and I apologize. But I'll do this in 2 parts. There's a show basically about they have celebrities on it. It's a military show. My friend Rudy Reyes. It's like Stars and Stripes or something, but it's Stars something where they have stars do all these military challenges. And I saw that there was a black girl was the one that made it through. It was her, and then Brody Jenner was the one that, it was a white guy and it was a black girl, the ones that made it through all these challenges, beating out these athletes and all of these people for that. With that being said, with you're a black female who is going up against all these different odds, and then you have more put on top of you because you are black and then you are a female. What was it that got you to keep going? Why didn't you not give up? Because I'm sure everything in the book was being thrown at you, but you're like, no matter what, I am going to succeed. What was it that drove you to do that? Talk us through that.
That's a good question. That's a good question. One thing I wanted to comment about the clothes, Carolyn, I saw in the same laundromat where they said for whites only. And I said to my mom, oh, we only can take white clothes. And my mom said, I'll never forget this, with a calm voice, no, for white people only. I went, wait a minute, they don't want us in there. She said, no. And those stories just stick with us. They're growing up that way. So but Brandon, you have to know when you grow up like we do, and it's a constant support system in place. At St. John Baptist Church, you had Reverend R.C. Wilson, who was our minister for 50 years, and he set the environment that we had to know our history, we had to know about the Lord, and we had to know that the church was behind us. So there we were, released into the community with all these weapons. That means we had a full church behind us. We had Reverend Wilson behind us. They were fighting. We had the Lord behind us. We knew our history. You know your history, then you know what people went through to get you to where you are. That's real important. Otherwise, you'll take it personally. And when I was, and I'll answer your question in a minute, but when I was on Judge Finney, when the black was on the Supreme Court, and he said, when I was having a hard time, he said, it's not you that they're angry at, it's what you represent. You know, Abigail, you're black and female in a position of power. That is what they dislike so much. And being a judge, you have to know that and don't take comments so personally. So, but that was in the judiciary. But going back to school, going through the University of South Carolina, and then we were all very well educated. So I didn't have a problem with the University of South Carolina. But getting into the law school, I knew the history, and I knew that if I can be very Abigail-ish, Carolyn, Brandon, I knew that I was going into a place where they kind of weren't used to us, and definitely my mouth of being honest about everything. So I went into the first year, and I was in class with the governors, the future governors, and the future senators of South Carolina.
Yes, ma'am.
So I came home and I told my parents, I said, let me tell you who's in my class. Senator so-and-so's son and Senator so-and-so daughter, and mom and dad said that, let's be clear. You are always Black. Never believe that you are looked at the same way they are. He said they won't tell you this, but you are always Black. And if they will remind you of that, and you think, oh, mom, I'm in there with them, I got there to be just like them. But you have to always know.
Yes, ma'am.
You're Black. And that's a little different than a lot of the younger people feel now, because they feel everything's equal. But you got to know your history.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
You got to know your history. So when we were in law school, I need to tell you the real story. And remember now, the Lord is the person the Lord is the spirit that drives us.
Yes, ma'am.
That gives me the courage, and the Bible verses give me the strength. So when I went to the University of South Carolina, it was hard. I can't tell you hard. So the second week of school, when I was still happy, Abigail, that pretty much died.
Yes.
One of the law professors that some of the buildings are named after called me into his office and said, first of all, he said it in class, I need to see Abigail Rogers. So I went to his office, and he said to me, what was your job before you got here? And I said, being a teller at a bank. He said, I'm going to call the bank president, get you your job back, because you're taking a white person's seat here.
Oh, wow.
And when he said it to me, I couldn't believe he said it. He was so bold with it. He says, because you're taking a seat for a white person. And I just looked at him and I said, no, I'm not. And he said, yes, you are. This affirmative action has just gone too far. So I'm going to make it such that you go back to your old job. And he said, oh, I'm going to fail you. Now, back then that day, who was I going to tell? I had nobody to tell. Yeah. So Carolyn, my dad was like your dad. I did not have a car in college. So I had to, whenever I needed one, I had to borrow, but I had money to take the bus. Yes. So I left the law school, went to the bus, little stop right in front of the law school, paid my little 50, 75 cents, went straight to Fair Road, my home, and the bus stopped then. And you would have thought somebody died. I tore open the door. My parents were eating dinner, and they thought somebody had died. And I cried. I fell out on the floor. I'm so dramatic, I fell out on the floor. And Mom looked down and she said, what happened? And I said, Professor, and I named his name, told me I wasn't going to be a lawyer. And my dad knew something was wrong with Dad, kept eating. Dad looked at me and he kept eating. And she said, let me get this straight, my mom said. Who told you were going to be a lawyer? I said, the Lord. She said, who told you weren't going to be a lawyer? I said, the professor. So she said, now my dad didn't even, Mom said, so you are telling me that the professor told you something that the Lord told you were going to, and you believe the professor over the Lord? Whoa. And then the way she said it was like, well, well, that's how it sounded. Then my mom looked at my dad, because my mom was sort of snide. I have a snide side. She said, took the bus over here and interfering with our dinner, talking about the professor told her to be a lawyer. My dad said, that's right. That's what she said. So I said, well, after that, I said, can y'all give me a ride back to law school? Both of them said, no. So I took some money, went back on the bus, went back to university, went back in there and studied, because then I had felt like a fool. And Mom said, she always said this, if the Lord told you, it is done. So with that, when I got the grades, now let me tell you, they failed me. They gave me, the professor gave me a D. You can't make Ds. And the other professor he talked to gave me a D. And they sort of talked to each other, and they were aiming for students. And so it gave me a D. So I got a letter that said you're suspended. So I went home, and my mom said to me, she said, now who was it? She kept saying, who said you were going to be a lawyer? I said, the Lord. She said, then you tell the Lord. Open up the way, make it right. Carolyn and Brandon, I'm telling you. So I got on my knees. This is a true story.
Yes,
I said, Lord, I've done the best I can. you see me, you said I'm going to be a lawyer. I got to
Oh.
take you at your word. I don't know what else to do. My parents are school teachers.
Yes, Abby.
Carolyn and Brandon, let's see, within a couple of days, a true story, I received somebody rang the doorbell, a white male, and he said, Abigail Rogers said, yes. He said, Judge Bell, that was one of the professors at the law school, would like to see you. And I said, I didn't have him. He said, no, no, ma'am. He would like to see you 5 o'clock today. So I went to see him and I said, sir, you want to see me? One of the professors. He said, yes. And he said, you didn't make it out of first year? I said, no, ma'am. No, sir. He said, sit there, write me a letter and tell me what you think happened. So I just started writing. Heck, I didn't know. I just started writing. Well, I did all I could. And I read every book. I read every, I just wrote. And he looked at my paper and he said, I see what's wrong. He said, you're going back to school and you're going to work with me 52 Saturdays, every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Do not miss a Saturday. And he said what had happened, he told me later, what the Lord, he was a believer. The Lord placed in his spirit, go get the girl there laughing because they would laugh when they failed Black people out, he told me.
Oh, wow.
And they would laugh and he heard
You're
them. And he heard them, and the Lord spoke and said, "Go." They said they failed this girl from University of South Carolina, and he found out and he sent for me. So my parents laughed at me because Carolyn and Brent, I didn't miss a beat, y'all. Went straight in the second year. Every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1, I sat in a seat in front of him, and what he did was reteach me how to think. He said, I'm going to change your thinking because there is a technique to thinking as a lawyer and thinking for the bar. He said, remember, you got to pass the bar. So y'all, I sat there from 8 to 1 and having to just talk about the law. It had to come from here. He would give me a set of questions. He said, now tell me what you see and tell me what the law is. And he go, oh, he go, wrong, start again. And you had to analyze, that's here, you had to do it quickly. I did not miss Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, hot, cold, sleet, snow, rain. I was sitting in there. It was so cold one day. I was covered up sitting there. But he constantly questioned me to change my thinking. And he said to me, when you change your thinking of how to answer problems and questions, you change the way you think. You'll never figure out, you'll never go back because you won't remember how to go back. So y'all, my grades went up second year, B's as in boys, B's and a few A's. Then there was third year, which was B's and A's. It was unbelievable. So at the end of third year, because after spending a year with him, then I just stayed with him, hung around him and took his classes and talked to him. And he said, I said, well, Judge Bell, I'm going on now and I'm going on to practice law and pass the bar. And he said, no, one day, and I thought this was somebody's going to come to you and ask you for help to pass the bar. I prepared you to help them because he said, they're coming. And I said, who's going to be crazy enough to ask me for help? That's what I said. He said, you're going to be surprised because they're coming. So at graduation, my parents, we've got school teacher parents. They went to Judge Bell. I'll never forget. My mom said, Judge Bell, we don't have much money, but we will pay you for what you did. Because we didn't pay anything. We'll pay you for what you did. He said, she knows how she's going to pay me back. She knows what she's going to do. So I thought, yeah, right. Well, Carolyn, so when I got on just to tell you about how the Lord works, Judge Bell went from, and I call him Judge Bell, he went from teaching at the law school to the Court of Appeals, then he ran for the Supreme Court.
Oh, wow.
And he got elected. So let me tell you, while he was running, they were hitting me pretty hard in the judiciary, and I could not get any help because the word was out they were not going to reelect me. And so the Lord had placed on my heart, and honestly, the Lord said, okay, you've done your work. I'm now got you another assignment. And my friends laughed because I told the Lord, I said, you've done well. I'm moving you on. So I went to Judge Bell and I said, the Lord says I have another assignment now. And he says, but you stay on the bench for life. I said, I'm just telling you, the Lord said. And Judge Bell said I could get, Carol and I could get hardly no help in the fight with the legislature. People, people abandoned me and legislators abandoned me. Nobody, and when I say nobody, I don't mean my people from church now, but the powers that be did not help me because they felt that it was just too hard to defend a Black female. And so they would rather just have an easy white female. But Judge Bell said, I'm going to help you. He said, I see you have no help. He said, let me get to the Supreme Court because I'm going to send down the edict. I'm going to send you some help. I'm going to help you. So I said, there I was. So I said to the Lord, Judge Bell going to help me. That's what I said, Judge Bell's going to help me. And the Lord does not argue with me, Carolyn. So when he got elected to the Supreme Court, I was happy, happy, happy. And I always say to people, guess what he did after getting elected? Because I'm waiting on him to help me. Guess what he did?
Yes. What did he do?
You're going to have to
die. He died of a heart attack. Died.
Holy smokes.
Died in his 40s. Died.
Wow.
I could not believe it. It's like he got elected to the Supreme Court, and then someone called and said, did you hear Judge Bell died? I said, died? And they said, yes, he died after he'd not been well. I didn't know he'd not been well.
Yes,
he died. So there I was, the one person that was really fighting for me had died.
Yes, ma'am.
And so there I wasn't reelected, but I'd had enough years on the bench where I could get retirement. So then that's when, of course, I'd had a baby. And then Dr. Swinton, of course, called me. But I look back at it that with a kid, that was the best thing, because when you have girls, well, see, Carolyn, you have boys, but when you have a girl, you need to keep up with girls. Girls are something. So it allowed me the time to spend time with Garrett. Anyway, so I hope that answered Brandon.
Honestly, I'm not gonna even lie to you. That is one of the best answers I've ever heard in the entire time of this show. And it's one of the reasons why I don't know how many people in your lifetime know about that story, but it's one of the reasons why we have this show, is because as I said, I love when people have a chance to tell their stories. That has been one of the best responses I've ever heard in my lifetime.
It really has, Abby. It touched me. Brandon, you finished.
Oh, no, it's okay. Yeah, go ahead, Mom. You're good.
It touched me so, because when Brandon asked you the question, I didn't know how everything had evolved with you, because we had separated life over a period of time, because I was recruited to go work in Delaware for DuPont. So I left and didn't get a chance to see what was happening with you in South Carolina. But what's so interesting with all that has happened with you in the state of South Carolina, my question is, have you ever thought about moving from the state of South Carolina?
Thank you for asking. No, because I wanted to be near my family. I wanted to raise my daughter around family, because she was an only child. So, and her cousins are in Lawrence and Greenville. So I just wanted her to know her grandmother and grandfather on the other side. And so I just loved family. So I always knew I was going to be here in South Carolina. And I only wanted one license. That was to practice here in South Carolina. But just to say one thing, to tell you I started out with the end of the story. So in 2010, when I saw the young Black girl crying in Starbucks, and I looked down and I saw a contracts book, and I said, you crying over contracts? And she said, I just failed the bar and I made low on contracts. I could hear the voice. Now you're trained to help.
Yes,
and so I said, I think I can help you. And I did. And she passed the bar, and then she told others she passed the bar. And they're good students. So they started talking among themselves. So every February and July, I have students who come and study under me, not for free. And we get them ready for the bar.
Yeah, make sure put that out. And not for free. They have to study. You'll help them not for free. That's good. Free. So you have that ability to help students who are in law school right now. And if they want to pay you to help them prepare. Now, did you pass the bar the first time?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And if Judge Bell, listen, Carolyn, if Judge Bell had not taken me aside, I wouldn't have passed the bar to this day.
Yes, ma'am.
And I had a boyfriend back then. I always had boyfriends, Brandon.
But
So
we
I,
Okay.
but I don't speak to him now. But
Yes, ma'am.
but so one time, I was telling this story, and I said, I called my old boyfriend, and I said, people are going to ask, is this true? You're going to have to tell them, because he was often with me as I went to the office to study with Judge Bell. He would tell people, yep, she spent a lot of time with him. She's trained
Yes.
by him.
Oh,
Yeah, you're a not a prodigy, I wouldn't say, but you were a student of his, and like it's up to you to carry on his memory and his legacy, which you are doing phenomenally. And it is full circle to where I don't know how many years it was between him saying, hey, we're not going to fail you because of these guys, they're trying to purposely do this and think it's funny. He's a man of soul. God put him in your life for a purpose, so that down the line that everyone that you have helped train comes from him, not giving up.
Exactly.
well,
Exactly.
I have to bring this to, because I love the University of South Carolina.
I do as well.
And Brandon is a true Gamecock all the way. But my sister was in the first class for the medical school. And did you know they tried to fail her in that medical school as well?
No.
Yep, they tried to fail her. She was the first Black in the medical school there. And so what happens is they failed her in organic chemistry because they wanted to keep it. And she was the only Black in there. And they had 3 females. She was the only Black. They had 2 others. She's very good friends too with this white, and then the rest white guys in the class. So Evelyn, well, I was going to say that, but anyway, they failed her in that first class. Yes. So the story is so to hear your part on the law school of it. And so I'm telling the medical part of it. Right. So my daddy said, like your father, wait a minute, let's look at this, because we know we're driven by the Lord. Right. My daddy said, I'm going to take you, Evelyn, to the University of Alabama, which is the #1 medical school at the time. He took Evelyn down to the University of Alabama, and she enrolled in organic chemistry there. And she was an A student, and they called the University of South Carolina and they said, why in the world are you failing this brilliant girl when we want her to become a professor here at the University of Alabama in the medical school? Amen. That turned the tide for my sister. It turned the tide because they called and they said, there's no way she should have failed. So something was in the mix that I'm so glad the University of South Carolina has cleaned itself of maybe that entity that was back then. And
I doubt it. I doubt it.
Well, hopefully they continue to work on it. I always say I'm giving people hope. I'm giving them hope that they continue to work on that. But the same thing, she was first in that medical school, and now she graduated with her class on time.
She did it.
Yes. So, but that same thing happened. And so maybe it wasn't dealing with your edge. They wanted to fail you all. They wanted to fail. And though you're doing excellent and you're not cheating, you didn't have to exactly anything. And so you do. And so the University of Alabama sent that note to University of South Carolina and said, there's no way this should have ever happened. And so from that, Evelyn kept on, classes were doing fine. I remember she would go at night and be cutting on cadavers, and she would be there by herself trying to get that done. And Daddy wanted me, my father wanted me to be a doctor too. And I said, Daddy, I don't want to cut on the dead. I don't want to deal with the dead. I'd rather deal with the living. So I started cell medicines. So with that, that's how we separate. But to hear your story, it just rang a little bell in my head. I said, wait one moment. But Abby, what you have done is beyond what God wants us to continue to do. He said, well done, good and faithful servant. We continue to walk through this life, making sure we are taking care of others. We're reaching, bring through. And then her daughter, Garrett. Garrett is brilliant. She has a daughter. Tell us a little bit about Garrett being a doctor now.
Thank you for asking. Let me tell you about my kid. And Carolyn, my kid, I often say, will put me to shame. You talk about tenacity and And Carolyn, I will say this as if Brandon's not here. It's funny how our kids will do things that amaze us, even though we prepared them to do amazing things. Is that not true?
When Brandon being an actor, went to Hollywood, and now on all the, when I saw him on the first screen, when I saw him on TV screen, I said, that's my child. Go ahead, my Gary.
Carolyn, but
that's my child I'm seeing on the screen. That's my child.
And you have to know Carolyn to know she said that. That's it. But to tell you about Gary went to Wofford, where Brittany went. And of course, Wofford was hard, and she majored in pre-med, and Wofford was horrible to her, meaning that she went through, she said she would rather have a difficult undergrad than an easy undergrad and a difficult medical school.
I got you.
She knew that Wofford was going to be rough. So when she got to Wofford, and she was getting ready to graduate, one of the professors went to her, and I don't know, I always say I wasn't on my P's and Q's, then I always say everything's in good. Went to her and said, Garrett, I want to give you a recommendation for med school. Went to her. So she did call. She said, Mama, guess what? The professor wants to give me a recommendation. I did not stop to think, wait a minute. That's not how that works. So I said, okay, and went on. The professor put in her file and then blocked it so she couldn't see, and told everybody in the medical schools not to accept that she would not do well. And the way I found out was I had to use my connections, because she wasn't getting accepted to the University of South Carolina. She wasn't getting accepted to MUSC. So I said, wait a minute, something's not right. And and Carolyn, I was going to tell you, it always try your instincts said, call the people. And I know, and Gary, I'll tell you, with the right synchronizations will answer to help. So I called and told him, I'm a Black mother of a Black child. She is not getting accepted. This doesn't look right. She's got good grades. And the lady said, who answered the phone, there's a letter in her file, and let me read it to you. And then, because she said, no, don't tell. And then she told me the professor who did it.
Yeah.
Yes, said put in, because you know why? They were mad at me. Because I really, as you would suspect, I was really on the school for treating everybody right. I was at the school all the time. And then being a retired judge, they didn't like that, and a lawyer. And to get back, they did hit her. So she could not get accepted. So what she did, Carolina, the school around the corner, Columbia, Evelyn School, as I call it, didn't accept her for med school, but did admit her to get a master's of biomedical science and engineering. So she goes there, blows it out of the water, comes back and applies to the same school, and they wouldn't accept her. They wouldn't accept her. So what she did was she said, well, Mama, there's more than one way to skin a cat. That was be like my dad. So she went out of the country, stayed 2 years, came back in the country at the University of Miami, graduated. So then came the time for, matches. So she applied all over the world to match. She wants to be a neurologist. And so when it was
what got cut off?
Neurologist?
Neurologist.
Neurologist.
One of the only Black females in the United States, and very few want to be a neurologist. And so nobody accepted her for neurology, but they accepted her to, I can't talk medical, so let me do it my way. Didn't accept her for neurology, but she got a call from Lexington Medical Center that says, come work with us for a year. We're going to get you ready for neurology. So she's a resident at Lexington Medical Center. Now getting offers for neurology. So she can now go neurology. So she went out of the country, came back in the country, came to Lexington, and on her way.
Yes,
so I said, one of the best centers in the United States. Congratulations there.
That's right.
Garrett, we have to have Garrett on the show to tell her story. But what we do here, Brandon.
Sorry, one thing I want to say on Garrett was this is you're right. There are more than one way to skin a cat. And even in my own career, I haven't had, let's say, put it this way, in Los Angeles, I've had doors closed purposely. And so my way of circumnavigating that is I went and booked everywhere else in the country and working, and then started my career in London as well. And that has all been able to circumnavigate, just like Garrett just had to go through that with that aspect and found the way. Everyone from New York to Atlanta to New Orleans to the Midwest to London has been like, hey, well, they brought me up to the ranks and show, hey, he's capable of being here. You got to keep those doors closed, but this person is going to succeed regardless. So I appreciate Garrett for God meant for her to take that journey. And even doing that opens up her eyes. I love South Carolina and all, but her seeing the whole entire world, there's more out there. So I'm glad.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But I think Mom was going to say, I do want to get to the fact that when you were a judge, what are some of those moments that stick out to you? Because one thing I heard you say was being a person that had been in the community, you have, and I just want to give you guys credits as parents. You know, when people have kids, the kids don't always turn out right. And that's a lot of times, sometimes it is the direct relation to what the family member is doing, but sometimes you can have the best family in the world and your kid's still a screw up. Excuse my French.
Right.
So with you saying the fact that there are people in the community, like, hey, you know, look out for my son. Your son's a drug dealer or shot someone. I assume that if you wouldn't mind going into some of the things that would be difficult as a judge, I guess you have to look at it as a blank slate, where it's not like a blank slate. You have to look at what the situation is. And hey, look, your son still did this. If your son killed someone, if your son shot someone, your son shot someone. If your daughter shot someone, they did that. They sold drugs and they got caught for it. Well, you have to do the crime of. Now, granted, you're not going to throw maybe what a different kind of judge would give at a certain kid but just kind of explain.
The cases caught between that. I see the Brandon caught between that position as sitting in the bench in that position that you held. That was something. Can you share with us a difficult situation that you may have, an interesting situation? Maybe it's that you had to deal with at a time in that role that you had at that. Both
a bad and a good situation. I like to hear both. One of the situations where you thought that was, and obviously don't use names, but a situation.
Right. Of course, I don't remember names. But
okay, but a negative situation and a positive situation.
That'd be great.
Okay, I'll tell you something that Carolyn, you and Brandon would not realize coming from parents that we had. When you would have kids before you who committed the crime 2 and 3 in the morning, or 11 and 12 on school nights, the first thing the kids would be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The first thing to you is, wait a minute, where's the mama and the daddy?
That's correct.
That was what I ran into a lot, where the kids were out there and the mama and daddy were out there too. The mom and dad, well, first of all, daddy was nowhere to be found because the mama said, now I'm going to generalize because I heard this a lot. Mama said, I don't want nothing to do with the daddy no more. He got his own woman. I just quit him. But you got to raise a son. Yeah, I'll do it myself. Then she's in her late 20s or early 30s, when she's at the club saying that she left the kid with someone, that someone was somewhere else, and the kid just left, went with the gang, got in trouble. So I have a kid before me with the public defender, and I go, where's the mama? Public defender says, I don't know. She didn't answer. Then I said, nope, got to go find her. And I would hold the kid and make them locate the mother. And then I got in trouble, Carolyn, with the community, because I started locking up parents, because I felt if the kids were out there and the parents were out there, the parents should be responsible. So I said, the kids got to go, parents got to go.
Absolutely. I actually kind of like that, to be honest with you.
Boy, they just ridiculed and crucified me in the press because they said I should not have locked up parents because of kids. But I was trying to explain, you have to see what I see to see kids coming in with no parents. So that was a lot when a lot of the kids were getting into trouble because they had no supervision. No problem. And then the grandmothers would come in, and in South Carolina, you don't have grandparent rights. But here are grandmothers coming in to look over for the grandchildren, and the grandmothers were working. So they would say to me, Letitia doesn't feel like being bothered. So here I am working all day trying to take care of the kids. And this was so foreign to me. And so those were cases were difficult. Then the other cases I had that sort of stuck with me with child support. I had a reputation, Carolyn, of locking people up who didn't pay child support. I didn't care if you were a man or woman. So I feel like if you had a child, you need to be responsible for the child.
Yes, ma'am.
That's correct.
And so I was just very cut and dry. Have the
Mhm.
money. If you don't have the money, there's a bus out there waiting on you, because it was so many. And I would give them. I believe in paying child support. Pay child support, and they'll tell you Abigail was hard on child support, and it really got rough when I got pregnant. I was pregnant on the bench, and I was just miserable on the bench, and men were coming in and saying, I got my new family to take care of. I can't take care of my other family, and I'm sitting here pregnant going, I wish my husband would come in here and say something like that.
But a question I have to ask one question here. But if you put them in jail, which you were doing, how did they pay the child support?
See, that's a fallacy in thinking sometimes, Carolyn, because they'd get on that phone like the TV people would on that, where they say call a friend or something.
Yes, ma'am.
How about there are different ways? Before I tell you that, he'd say, Your Honor, ma'am. They say we don't have any money. I said, you didn't bring anything? Not a thing. So then I said, well, empty your pockets. So then would come out a couple of hundred, and then I said, oh, look at there. How about empty all the pockets? And there would be money where they thought they would be able to get past me without paying anything, and they wanted to hold on to the money. So they would hide money. They come up with money. Then those that say, I have no money, I put them in lockup, because that they're going to come up with the money. And before I would leave that day, I'd say, how are the guys doing in lockup? They say, Judge, they're gone. People came and got them out. Yep. And then they would bring their employers to court with them. And I'd say to the employer, they say, Johnny hadn't come to work lately, but he says he's coming, and I'm going to get him out for this child support. They would figure out ways.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Abby, I tell you, we're going to, because this part that you're talking about, we have to have you on the show just to talk about some things.
We're going to have you back.
Yeah, because we're going to go through the lightning round here quickly. But the reason I say that, because I hear so many people, we were blessed to have great parents. Yes. Your parents, my cousin, we all had great parents and grandparents. And so we knew that support system made us whole. Made us the humans that we are to this day, to continue to give back to society what was poured into our beautiful spirits, not only from the Lord, but from friendships as we have now. As you can see, Abby, but to continue to move forward. But sometimes I get a little upset when I hear people on TV or people who've had it all saying, well, we are the parents. What? And when children are raising children.
Right.
And like a piece that you mentioned just a few minutes ago, that parents are nowhere to be found. And the child is in your courtroom, and you have to find the parents, because it's like it's a reciprocal type of way, and people can't understand when they say, well, where are the parents? When the parent might be 14,
exactly,
had a baby, or 15, and the grandmama's 23, and then the baby is 4 or 5, and that cycle in there.
That's right.
Yeah. And so when I hear that blunt statement made, and I always say, people need to think about, well, wait a minute, everybody doesn't have, we were just blessed in our community, and the love we still have today, and what we see, how we can see another side of it. We can see the bigger picture that people can't quite see. So we have to have another conversation, because
you're gonna have to have you back.
Yeah, because
Abby, I'm gonna hold you all day.
Yeah, we could go on. I told you the time goes fast, but you can get deeper in conversations that are impacting society, and what we love our viewers to hear. Different sides, the way people have been raised, what God means to us that impacts us, what you've done to serve on the bench, what you've seen in teaching students in college, and your daughter, what you've done with your daughter, and then her husband is a preacher,
associate pastor.
So he's like a first lady out there too. Yes, and that's another side of Abby that she deals with, being a first lady. So with that, we could go on with that. So we have to pay for that. But what we do is a lightning round. So the lightning round is going to make it easy. But we got serious near the we got a lot. We got a lot in. A lot. We got a lot of company. You didn't think the town would go, but I told you we're just catching up. We're doing things. I told you we're gonna have some fun.
You did. I did.
All right. This is our lightning round. Just for fun.
It's just gonna be a random question to ask. Yeah.
Okay. And you're gonna laugh at them too. All right.
Okay.
Your favorite. Okay. This is the lightning round just for fun. All right.
Okay.
Just quick thought of your favorite Southern comfort food. And I'm going to give you some. Chitlins, pig's feet, steak, or fish. Tell me what's your favorite.
Can I say none of those and tell you what it is?
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, girl, pound cake.
Really?
Oh, you like desserts.
Hey, remember, I was hanging around Naomi. I couldn't cook and anything but cake, cookies, potato pie. Oh, girl.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you love sweet.
Sweet tooth.
She has a sweet tooth. Yes, I forgot about that because you would always try to get that dessert before leaving the functions at different homes of our cousins and everything. She's like fabulous. Yes, so it's always Abby yelling, where's the cake? Where's the cake? Whatever. All right. That's it. Abby, you know I won in the state fair.
No.
With my pound cake. Yes, girl. Yes.
Abby calling your house saying I want some pound cake. Okay.
Well, I, for the last 2 years, I have not made any cakes except for one. Brandon's birthday, I did make one. All right. Are you an early bird or night owl?
Ooh, early bird. Like 4 a.m. in the morning, 4 and 5, I get up and sit and talk to the Lord and hear the Lord. Ooh, yes, exactly. Something about the quiet, the night, just everything's, that's the best. Early morning.
I love that. Okay. One thing you can't live without besides family and faith.
Okay, one thing I cannot live without.
Besides, we know that given.
Without faith, I would say exercise.
Oh, great, Abby.
Going out and walking and when I used to run a lot, Carolyn, I try to use the earphone. Mom said, why don't you just observe what the Lord has done, girl, and stop putting all that in your ear? So now I just get outside and exercise and the fresh air is something about it that I love. So I can't do without exercise.
Yes, ma'am.
That's excellent, Abby. Okay. What would be your dream vacation destination?
You know, before I broke my ankle 2 years ago, falling over puppies, I would have said learning how to ski. But after I broke my ankle, I said, forget that. Yeah. So my perfect destination is a tie between Asheville here during the fall and, of course, Maui, Hawaii.
Okay, that's good. And yes, how's your ankle doing, by the way? I know you broke your ankle. I had given you those heels that were 3-inch. Are you still wearing those high heels like that?
No, girl. Nope, not at all. I'm giving them away. So what I did, Carolyn, was I would run marathons. Brandon didn't know, but I would run these races. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. So I would go to Cooper River Bridge Run. That's my favorite. So about a year after I rehabilitated the ankle, the doctors told me, you can go walk the bridge race. Well, you know, ego gets in the way. Everybody's running. So I started running. Girl, at the end of the race, I said to my crazy husband, I said, I think I hurt something in my ankle. Couldn't hardly walk. He said, well, walk it out. So then I started walking. Girl, ended up back in rehab and just finished it maybe a month ago.
No, Abby. I didn't know that. Okay.
My friend Sharon says, age.
Yeah, it catches up, girl. You'll start feeling things you didn't think. You know, what's happening? I'm trying to get out of bed. So slow. All righty. And then I'm going to give you at the last two. If you could sit down with any historical figure, lawyer, leader, or a woman of faith, who would it be and why?
You mean any historical figure?
Any historical figure.
Girl, Harriet Tubman. Would love to talk to Harriet Tubman. She led all those Black folk from one part of the country into freedom, never lost anybody, no one ever died. But Carolyn and Brandon, now come on now, you know how it is when we got to deal with people day in and day out. And she just did it. And how did she know, even though we know historically she heard from the Lord? I want to hear her tell me that.
Yes, ma'am.
I want her to tell me.
One thing she did say, if you tell the master, I kill you myself.
Yep. Dead men don't tell tales. Yep.
That's what she was able to leave.
She did.
I just had to throw that in.
It worked.
And this is the final one. What's one thing about Abby most people don't know?
Yeah, that's a good one. Most people don't know, Carolyn, that I have a heart to serve, and that deep in my heart and my system, I know that we are here to serve others. It's not about Abby. It's not about me, y'all. It's not about making a lot of money. It's what is my purpose? And I follow my purpose. What is your purpose? And from there, that's take your steps. So they don't know I'm driven by purpose.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Abby, let me tell you something. This has been an outstanding.
It really has been. It really has been. It really. I didn't see this coming. You've been absolutely amazing.
So she
Yes, ma'am. You truly have.
I know you're here, but you have been outstanding, amazing. You have inspired, encouraged our viewers. You've made impact on the young people out there, because I have a whole lot of young people following. They're trying to decide what they want to do in this life. And what they will do is they'll come back and send questions to us and ask, would you please ask her these certain questions the next time she comes on? These are just things we wanted to, and the time just flew.
Yes, ma'am.
And I knew it would. But you have just been a light, a bright light, shining right now. When people are at a point and they need encouragement, you have actually given so much encouragement, happiness. Share the best part of yourself with our listeners and our viewers. And we appreciate you so much.
Absolutely.
Brandon, did you finish?
You've been absolutely amazing. I think Mom summed everything up perfectly. Honestly, I've been blown away by you today, but it's been inspiring for sure. And I felt my soul touched at different times and agree with you on stuff that I just said silently to myself. But you've been phenomenal, and I can't thank you enough for coming on. And we will have to have you back. There's things that you said that I couldn't touch on today because we don't want to hold you, but we'd love to have you back for sure.
But Abby, now we always ask guests, and then do you have anything you want to ask us quickly? Because we've asked you so many questions, but anything quickly you'd like to ask us?
Yeah. You know what's funny to me, Carolyn, the only thing I'm going to say is you and I have known each other all of my life. You're a tad older. Can you imagine that there were things about me you didn't know? And that is what's so surprising. I said, Carolyn, you know me.
Because we separated for a while, and that's why I lost track there. But we didn't miss a beat today.
Nope.
We love you, Abby. And what we get ready to do now? What do we do?
Give everyone a round of applause. But one thing I do want to say is this. I'm pretty sure a lot of people found out things about you that they didn't know. And if they didn't, they should already have respect for you. But that's why it's so important for we having people on the show, because it gives you an opportunity to tell your story. All that adversity that you just came through, that people, you're smiling and always happy-go-lucky. People don't realize that you went through a whole lot of adversity to get to where you are. That's why it's so important that people tell their stories and get a chance to tell their stories. So
and that's why I'm glad Brandon created this show, because he said, Mama, the world needs to see and hear people that might not ever get that chance.
Yes,
and so God wanted you right here at this time to do that. Right. Our listeners, our viewers, and thank you so much. All right,
we always give everyone a absolutely.
Great job.
You made my day.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for coming on.
And thank you.
And I'll call you shortly, Abby. Okay, love you.
Take care.
Love you so much, Judge Abby.
Abigail.
Okay, bye-bye.